Welcome to episode 148 of Nobody Special.
On this episode, we'll talk about the presidential inauguration and contextualizing the gospel.
The Gospel Outpost presents Nobody Special. Hey everyone, welcome to Nobody Special, two nobodies talking about the somebody who matters. I'm Danny, the brand serial regular host of Nobody Special.
And I'm Andrew, your guest host of Nobody Special. And we are just two guys looking to find God in pop culture, politics, and everything in between while not taking any of it too seriously.
Two wild and crazy guys.
Yep, there it is.
That's the reference that no one in our show will get.
I barely get it.
It's from Saturday Night Live, Steve Martin and Dan Aykroyd. So they did a thing where they danced as if they were
Wild and crazy guys?
Yes, but from Eastern Europe.
Like Yugoslavian wild and crazy guys.
I think so, actually, yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, we're the wild and crazy guys. And the hijinks they got into, it was insane.
Of course.
Hey, you're not Caleb.
Nope, still not.
Caleb is out for today. He's got a couple things going on, so I fired him for the week, and he'll probably be back next week.
I feel like every time I come on, Caleb is either like lost, missing, got fired.
Yep. I think there's another episode someone subbed in on that I had to reshoot the intro because I said Caleb died.
I remember that.
And it's like, no, that's only funny to me and nobody else because I have a history of not clarifying these as I get into them. Caleb's dead. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that the time that you had somebody guest host and didn't say anything about Caleb? And then you had me guest host the next time?
And the Lost episode.
Mm-hmm.
The Lost episode. Did we ever?
That's right.
I don't remember if we talked about the Lost episode on here.
This guy.
There were very few rage quits that Nobody Special has done. That was one of them, and that audio was just so bad. I don't know how. I to this day I don't know how we did that, but it was a good episode.
Yeah, it was great.
Sorry, support our Patreon and maybe you'll hear it. We don't have a Patreon. I want to be,
and they'll never hear it.
Yeah,
so.
and you'll never hear it. Don't know where it is actually.
Clarifying.
Yes. So this has been has this been a long week for you? This has been a long week for me.
It hasn't really been a long week for me.
Really?
No.
I just told a person every day this week has been a long week. And after Monday, because I've had a few things, my car blew up, some other stuff, some more stuff, some stuff on top of that. And after Monday, I got home and thought, wow, thank goodness tomorrow is Saturday. I'm looking forward to the weekend. And then, like, time slowed down. There was that stringed instrument, like, you're like, it's only Monday. Oh, no. But we made it. There was a big event. Did you catch any of the big event? The Inauguration?
We did watch. We homeschool our kids, and so we watched it in the daytime as social studies.
Right.
I did not catch the evening festivities, but I did watch the swearing in and things like that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'm prepared for, how do I put this? I want 2024 to be just the most boring ceremony where we haven't had to make like changes or decisions. It was weird. It was weird. There's 20 people showed up because that's who was allowed.
Really, the only thing that I remember that it was any different than anything else was Bernie Sanders sitting on his lawn chair, just full on, and then the memes. Have you seen the memes?
They keep coming.
They're so good.
I'm intentionally going to Facebook for these memes because
Bernie memes.
Finally, we did it. We're back to quasi-normal and just making fun of something.
I saw somebody had photoshopped him sitting there angrily into all of these famous pictures, like the one with all the guys eating their lunch on the beam up in the sky, and he's
that famous photo. Yeah,
and he's sitting on the end.
No, Bernie's gonna be the third host in the thumbnail. Like we're already doing that. It doesn't
so
matter.
Good.
No, the entire thing though, that was a roller coaster of a ceremony in the morning. And I have a couple of thoughts, and I'm not going to get political because please, no. I can't. Physically, I just can't anymore. So, first of all, they had 3 musical performances. I want to talk about those.
All right.
First, Lady Gaga. Did you see her outfit?
I did not.
I was stunned at how, because she's a shock artist, essentially.
She showed up in a meat dress.
Yes,
somewhere.
absolutely.
That's really all you need to know.
Right. So the shocking thing about her was just how normal she looked today, but it was as if I'm trying to explain normal to an alien, and they mostly got it.
So it's like Zuckerberg in that deposition that he looked normal.
How I am water.
That's it. That's it.
So I mean, it was still. I gotta be honest. I appreciate how much of a performer that Gaga is.
She's incredible.
She's a performer, and not just a talented in a musical ability, but she's a performer. She had her own gold microphone, her own gold XLR cable, gold in-ears. A bird that I don't know.
I saw that. I saw the Hunger Games.
Yeah, the Hunger Games bird. And there was a part because she was doing the national anthem, talking about there's the part that talks about the flag. They got a camera angle just for her to turn around and point at the flag dramatically, but they never showed the flag. So I'm just like, what are we? This is awesome. I'm drawn in and I don't even know what's going on. And it was like bonkers, but just bonkers in a way that only Lady Gaga could do it.
Of course.
Then J-Lo came on, which was like, J-Lo is J-Lo. She came out and you kind of start having the debate of, is she appropriately dressed?
Was it Super Bowl J-Lo?
No, but it was still like J-Lo. But it's again, if I'm an alien trying to explain J-Lo, but say like J-Lo but dignified, you would have that.
J-Lo but a presidential inauguration.
And it gave a beautiful song. It was very beautiful. She too, very talented.
Yeah.
And afterwards, because she Amy Klobuchar was kind of acting as the MC, and just immediate after J-Lo finished, you have Amy Klobuchar come up like, wow, that was great. And I'm just like, no one likes you for that reason, like
stunning musical performance ends.
That was wonderful. And it's not her fault, but she's not a likable human being. She's not.
Okay.
She tests poorly in the likability factor.
Okay. Granted,
so a lot of people don't get to her actual position because it comes off as a naggy and whiny, and I'm just trying to be fair, but it was just really, really bad. Just time. Wow, nasally Owen Wilson.
Wow.
I'm just like, all right. It was fine. I'm probably picking too hard on her, but and then not to be outdone was Garth Brooks. Are you a Garth Brooks fan?
No.
First of all, Chris Gaines didn't show up. That's all I'm saying. Kind of thinking there might be the same person.
I also don't know what that means.
That joke is also only funny to one other person.
Is it a country music joke?
Garth Brooks, I think, is crazy. At some point, he put out this album under the name Chris Gaines that was kind of like Garth Brooks, but slightly more poppy.
Okay.
And he dyed his hair and had guy liner.
But it was Garth Brooks?
Yes, but he never
acknowledged it?
Yeah, but it was like, no, that's Garth Brooks.
Like, who's Ron Swanson's jazz? Duke Silver?
Duke Silver, yeah.
Chris Gaines is his Duke Silver?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for the episode of Saturday Night Live that was hosted by Garth Brooks with musical guest Chris Gaines, and everyone said, man, get help.
Okay. Has Garth Brooks ever done the Super Bowl?
Well, we can't move on until we figure that out, can we? Super Bowl. I feel like he has.
I feel like he probably should.
Remember when Garth Brooks walked out of the Super Bowl?
Was he a performer in the Super Bowl?
He had tickets. No.
He's like, hey, everyone, I'm out.
Yeah.
Or the game is over and he's just finished watching. It's like, you guys remember when he walked out?
He's giving an interview, but only on local news,
No, go up.
Well, over the years, we're
1993.
90,
Go down. There.
Many country singers, Luke Bryan.
Oh, never mind.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. Just 1 hour before he was supposed to sing, Brooks left the stadium and refused to perform the national anthem if they weren't going to air his video. Awesome. Okay.
So this was almost the trifecta of inauguration performers and also Super Bowl performers.
Except at the end of it, I mean, they're all social distancing. And Garth Brooks is doing Amazing Grace. Beautiful song. He actually did a good job. There are like 3 or 4 verses to Amazing Grace. So as he got to the last one, the one no one knows, like he stopped and said, "Come on, I want everyone to sing along." And it's like, okay, I get what you're trying to do, because the whole thing is like, we got to be unified. All right. Except he said like 3 more sentences. Come on, I want everyone to sing along. It's important that our country learns how to get along with one another. There's no other instruments. He's doing it a cappella. So by the time he finished his paragraph, I was like, Amazing Grace. I don't know the 4th verse. Like, what are we doing? And then, as he walked off, I can only describe it as he middle school boyed his way off. Because, like, they're supposed to be distancing, they're supposed to be doing all that. And he's just like, I will never get to see these people again. I'm high-fiving George W. And just, like, gives him a hug. He's, like, high-fiving Obama on the way. What's that? He finger guns someone, It's, like, so good to see you. I'm like, dude.
Can you do finger guns at a presidential inauguration?
Well, I don't know. Secret Service like, gun.
That's a legitimate question. Would you get in trouble?
I think if you're Garth Brooks and have just...
I feel like that's...
You kind of hugged George W. and kind of high-fived Obama, that's like, he gets a pass,
Okay, typically the people that are hugging and high-fiving presidents then doing finger guns, that'd be a red flag.
I don't know. The finger guns are kind of... If it can be pulled off, you kind of nailed it, Okay. Like... There's a coolness factor, but as he was...
There's a coolness factor. I want to know what the coolness factor is to finally reach finger guns.
Well, I'll tell you the thing it is. It's wearing jeans to the inauguration.
Okay.
So, like, he's walking out, and I'm just like, you wore jeans, you putz. Like, you...
He's the common man. He's an everyday. He's an everyday man.
Garth Brooks, whoa, like, I'm like, what is it? Like, you wore jeans. Come on. Listen, they're not even like black jeans. It was just like good jeans.
More than once I have heard the argument, these jeans cost more than dress pants. Just because denim is useful and durable doesn't mean it can't be fancy, Daniel.
I mean, it was a nice pair of jeans, I'll be fair, but it's like, you wore jeans to an inauguration. Even Gaga got dressed up for this. Like,
fair enough.
She was like, elegant suit, meat dress, elegant suit. I don't know. So it was a crazy inauguration.
I want to be in the room when the Gaga's agent is explaining to her that she has to wear normal clothes. And like just her ideas of what she would wear if it were up to her. We're going to take the Constitution.
Right.
And we're going to make it into a skirt.
I would like to come dressed out as Lady Liberty herself. It's not gonna work, Gaga. Could I, in a tribute, come out as Sacagawea, who helped? Like, whoa, that's 2021. We don't want to do that, Lady Gaga. I mean, she would come up with something.
Yeah, but no suit.
I do need the sketchbook of like bad ideas, It's like, I was thinking this. Ooh, no. I was thinking like flat lines, like just monochrome. Okay, but put Hunger Games stuff on it. Like, okay, that's fine.
It will connect with the kids.
Yeah. No, it was a good inauguration. It was just like, how
do you spice up a boring event? I mean, it's monumental for the country.
Right.
I mean, it's great, but like, it's the inauguration is not a thrilling event.
No.
So, I mean, I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, they did a good job.
If Garth Brooks finger gunning everybody is the most exciting thing that happens at your inauguration, that's probably a successful inauguration.
Yeah, it's possible that's headcanon. I made that up, but it feels as if he was at least doing it in his head.
Oh, yeah. You know, like you can give off an air of
finger
gunning. Yeah.
So,
like, oh, yeah, I know that guy finger guns on his way out of every room.
He's finger gunning everyone. There we go. So, and, Bill Clinton fell asleep.
Wow.
Which, like, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I don't blame him, you know. But there's pictures of him, like...
I mean, he was the president, though. Like, you get to do whatever you want.
Dude, he was president, like, 92 or something. The dude is old. I mean, hey, politics aside, no hate. You know, like, do what you got to do, homie. Yeah. But I've noticed, just with all things politics, inauguration, and everything else, that this... you would kind of think that the world is ending tomorrow based on my Facebook feed, or that either Christ has come
and we missed it,
or Christ has come. Do you know, like the other, the alternative of bad theology? Like both ends have occurred. Like finally, there will be years of peace now that Biden has arrived, or like we will all die. I'm going into my bunker and I'm moving to Kentucky. So I was kind of thinking through this. I think this is a good time to be a part of the church, because this is an opportunity. The people are all hurting, all in pain, and this is an opportunity to gospel people on all ends of the political spectrum. Because as we found out for the past, I would say at least a month, stupid is a bipartisan issue, and political extremism is also a bipartisan issue. Yeah. And if the church can't give any kind of stability to that, what are we doing, guys? Yeah. What are we doing?
I think that the main thing that I've noticed, and I don't have social media for mainly this reason.
Right.
But the main thing I've noticed in a lot of folks is just that confusion is reigning.
Right.
And it's not, it can be confusion disguised as certainty.
Right.
And clarity.
Right.
But it's just guessing.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right that there's an opportunity within the church. When people are confused, they're open for solutions and conversation.
Right.
When people are scared, they're open to solutions and conversation. When things are dark, light is more visible.
Right. But also people are trying to find answers. They will cling to a answer regardless of its usefulness, and a strength behind it. I mean, there are people grasping to have answers to things that at this point I don't think the church can be quiet, but actually it needs to give clear presentations of the gospel to people in a manner that meets their context. And I think that's the part that's been missing, is we need to give context to the gospel, which sounds as if I'm saying something crazy offensive, and I hope I'm not. So I guess if I was to start off and kind of ask questions, because you're very smart and knowledgeable in this area.
So smart.
Incredibly smart.
I'm the smartest.
Well, because of all the stuff that you've done at studentgo.org. We'll just plug that a couple of times. Okay. Is it .org?
It is .org.
Studentgo.org. I remember. That's their slogan, actually. I remember. I remember.
Everything.
Yeah. So if I'm trying to give the gospel, so what are the core parts of the gospel that I need to keep?
Well, that's really good, because what I like to say at studentgo.org.
Studentgo.org.
No, what I like to say when I talk to people about the gospel and how to share the gospel is the message never changes, but the method can and should and will and is so different in different circumstances with different people.
Right.
So if we're talking about the core tenets of the gospel, you're talking about the thing that separates us from God, what was done, and then the future with God. Right? Like you're talking about, you are separated from God because of your sin, and just that's a very easy concept for people to grasp as they can just think of an hour ago sinning, but much less their entire lives. If anyone has had kids, they know how early that starts, how defiance and things like that
immediately
starts. And so you are separated from God, but God desires a relationship with you, and will give everything necessary to reconcile you, to restore you back to himself. And the means that he has done that is Jesus Christ, who came and lived the perfect life that you could not live, and died the death that you deserve, so that you can move from a slave to sin to a slave to righteousness, and not just a slave to righteousness, but a son at the table of the Almighty God. And in short, that's the gospel.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a great point that a ton of people skip over, that they just stop at God forgave us of our sins, which is like, no small thing. That's a huge part of that. I'm not trying to underscore that at all, but there's this other part of also, okay, when your bank account was at 0, you were still poor. So instead of going like, all right, well, at least you're not in debt, but you're still broke, come have access to the Father's bank account, which is endless, and be a part of the household of God.
Well, right, because I mean, look around. People aren't looking just to not be scared. They're looking for joy, right? Like so it's not just the bad things go away, but what good things are there, right? So if I share the good news of Jesus Christ, it has two parts, right? What I was saved from and what I'm saved to. So I was saved from eternally being separated from God. I'm saved to adoption by God and actually being a part of his family, having his spirit live within me. Joy, peace, patience, right? The fruit of the Spirit.
Right. Yeah. Like, and that's important to understand those parts of when giving the gospel. Actually give the good newsy part, where
it's the best part,
where it's like, okay, you're not in debt, but you have to start there. I'm a big proponent of, you have to start at the thing that put distance between us and God. And I don't think it's possible to understand grace and not actually struggle through the depths of our depravity. However, that's half the journey, and both sides of the journey have to be made and given in a gospel presentation. I think, like, you were a sinner, you are no longer a sinner, but are new in Jesus Christ, who brings you into the family.
But isn't it so interesting? I know we always say start at what separates us, but I don't think that's actually true, and I don't think we actually believe it. Because sure, in your explanation to somebody, you might start there as in the chronological beginning, but how did you get to that conversation? It's because people can see, likely they can see the fruit of the joy and the goodness in your life. So what I actually like to, how I like to think about this is, when people, especially right now, right? So whatever you think about the election, or whatever you think about world events, right? Things are dark. Things are dark. And if things aren't dark because of politics, things are dark because of just personal stuff and relationships, and things are dark. We live in a broken world.
Absolutely.
So if you can have a conversation with somebody and say, man, aren't things dark? Wouldn't you like to have hope and peace and joy? Wouldn't you like to have certainty? Wouldn't you like to be content? And hopefully your life models that. And you can say, great, because I have some good news for you. Then it starts at the separation, but you've already teased the good stuff, right? Like, and so I know that maybe it's just splitting hairs, but we say it starts at our separation from God. But if you just walk up to somebody and say, man, you are separated from God, that's true. That's true. But if we're talking about contextualizing the gospel, why would you not tease the hope and then explain how the journey to that hope happens?
Sure. Okay. All right. Fair enough. That's actually a really good point. So then, as far as giving context to the gospel, contextualize the gospel, is that first part just the almost indescribable difference of a person in Christ that attracts a person? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to say attractional anything, because we can get into that debate. But there is this idea that people will take a notice of a person that is in Christ and different, and even if they can't question or kind of put a finger to it, they're like, there's something different, and I can't explain it, and I need it.
So it's really interesting. So this is actually a concept that this is one of the main things that we wrestle through in telling folks how to share the gospel. Because all believers know that they should share the gospel. They probably want to.
Right.
It's the how that we struggle with, right? It's awkward, it's whatever. And so in doing this, it is, I always tell students as I'm working with them, people aren't going to come and ask you to share the gospel with them. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're not. They're not going to see your life and go, what makes you so different? Can you please share it with me so I can believe it too? They're just not.
Right.
So this whole idea, the quote, preach the gospel at all times, if necessary, use words.
It's also, it should be like...
Right. So it's a good...
Also use words.
It's well-meaning because the gospel is words. Right. But if your life does not back it up, then your words mean very little.
Right.
And so it's this tension of, I live a life that I can point to as an example of the power of the gospel, of the redemptive power of the gospel. I live a life that points to the hope of Christ that people can visibly see, and then I go get them. It's not, I live this life and I wait for those people to come to me. It's, I live this life and then I go and I intentionally dive into their lives so they know that I love them, and then I bring this gospel message out of love, out of concern, out of hope. Would you like hope? You see hope here. I can tell you how to get it.
Right. And I guess I was trying to, like, they need to see that, though, just to give the weight of the story. But you're correct. I've never had a person be like, excuse me, sir, I believe that you to be a Christ follower. Please explain to me this eternal wisdom that you seek. I've never had anyone do that. There is a go get them to it. Also, though, there is a, that's not going to happen. Go get them. It's an emphatic all the times Jesus told the disciples, like, okay, now pair up and go out, go tell them.
But haven't you been told as a teenager or as a young adult that if you live a gospel lifestyle, those conversations will just happen? I've been told.
Like I had cases that I questioned that in a few people growing up, but I wasn't gonna go talk to them. I think, I mean, there's still people that they had profound impacts on my current faith, even though I never had any conversations about their faith. I mean, there was a girl in middle school. She got the nickname of God Girl because she was always at church, always talking about church things.
Could be worse nicknames,
right? And I had a few of those. But so and it kind of like it struck me a bit because I went to church too, and no one was trying to call me God Guy, and they called her God Girl, and I was just like, in fact, they made fun of her, but like no one was making fun of me, and that I was thinking about that, but I never went over to her and said, like, excuse me, tell me about the depth of faith that you have. I understand it, but there was still this impact that it was made, even though we never talked. I mean, so I do think the impact is important, but it also needs to have the follow-up of, as a Christian, you go get them. You go like, hey, so let's talk, and be active in that pursuit. But it's not a clock in and out thing. I guess I was trying to say is like, I can't be like, all right, I'm gonna evangelize from 9 to 10, and then at 10 I'm gonna just really go ham on all the sins, you know.
So I was just talking to a young man today, and we were talking about this very concept actually before I even knew we were going to talk about this. And I like to say it this way: your view of God determines how you live your life. Yeah. And how you live your life reveals your view of God to the rest of the world. Nobody knows what you believe. Nobody knows the gospel that you have. No one knows. All they have is the example that you set forth. That's it. That's all. That's all the empirical evidence that they have to make their conclusion about what you believe. Even the things that we say, if not backed up by what we do, are meaningless. And this concept of, yes, I need to act like an ambassador of Christ, but that's just my that's my diving board, right? Like I'm bouncing at this point.
Right.
It's time to dive in to actually utilize that. I mean, that's the example that we see in Scripture, right? Like Jesus spends time with his disciples and he corrects things in them, and when they're wrong, he fixes it and he rebukes them, and then he says, "Go and do it." And then after 3 years, he's like, "Well, that was 3 years of that. Now go and make disciples." And then in Acts, what do we see? We see them loudly professing faith out in the streets, going and getting people. And then the missionary explosion that is all based on their lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. And I think especially the disciples, the amount Jesus just told them, like, go do, they were unskilled, untrained people from the get-go. You know, I was kind of checking out a couple of churches and pastors, and they said, like, most of them are dirty, uneducated fishermen who weren't even good fishermen, because the only kind of descriptions of their ability to fish, the only 2 times it's brought up, they didn't bring up anything. Yeah. So, like, they're not even phenomenal fishermen. So it's like these are uneducated people that they don't carry any kind of pedigree of any kind. The only person who did is Paul, and Jesus sent him to the one place where that pedigree didn't mean anything. Matter. I was like, yeah, but if you go to the Jews, they might actually think it's you, and I just want to be very clear, it's me. So go to the people who you have nothing in common with.
But when we talk about contextualizing the gospel in today's day and age, and in our culture right now, I think so much of that intentionality is, you look scared. You sound scared. You sound confused. You sound anxious or you sound very confident that this individual is going to fix everything. Right. Or you sound very confident that this individual is going to destroy everything. Right. Wouldn't you like to know about a higher power, something, a higher authority, something that you don't have to worry about, right? Like I think that, and it's not even the same as it was 15 years ago, right? Like the hooks, the hooks into the heart are different right now, right? And they're different here than they are in Canada and in England, and they're just different. And so the gospel never changes. Those same tenets are true, but how do believers encounter the world and basically solve the problems of the world with this good news? That changes daily. Right. The Apostle Paul, in his kind of 1 Corinthians chapter 9, 19 through 21, actually gets into that a bit. Do you mind reading that for us? So the Apostle Paul, in talking about how to share this good news, says this: "For though I am free from all, I've made myself a servant to all, that I might win more of them. To the Jews I became a Jew in order to win the Jews. To those under the law I became as one under the law, though not being myself under the law, that I might win those under the law. To those outside the law I became as one outside the law, not being outside the law of God, but under the law of Christ, that I might win those outside the law. To the weak I became weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all people, that by all means I might save some. I do it all for the sake of the gospel, that I might share with them in its blessings." So it kind of comes off that, as Paul's talking about this, there is this aspect of the idea of you is fluid. Oh, yeah. Like, you don't own you. And if there is a thing to bring a person closer to Christ, now granted, I want to be very careful with what I did and didn't say there, that above all, you honor God in all things. Other than that, spend time to get to know and understand people. Don't just call them like those snowflakes or those liberals, those Republicans, or those they just got to come around to the thing I do. Instead, take time to actually get to know the place they're coming from, get to understand the things that make them tick, the ins and outs. Care about them as a person, instead of a person I have to fix. And just that in that case, your idea, because there is a death to the world in us, and in coming up in the spirit, the idea of us then gets to be defined by God, and in a few cases in the context that God has placed us.
I mean, to Paul, as he's going to the Gentiles, he had to talk in a manner that the Gentiles could understand. At a minimum, I don't speak Spanish, and if I'm a heathen and I don't speak Spanish, and a missionary comes up and does the whole thing in Spanish, I don't care if it's the best sermon I ever heard, I still don't get it. And until that person takes time to say, I care enough to learn English, I'm not going to hear the gospel, literally. And I think that also applies in other manners too especially student ministry. The first step is just, most of these kids have needed to know that a person just gives a crap about them first. And people that are scared to get into student ministry, like, oh, it's so hard. It's like, it's the easiest thing in the world, because all that you have to do is genuinely care about a person, and they'll spend so much time just like opening up. Yeah. So I guess if you're trying to explain the manner to give context to the gospel, then in what way does a person do that, and what are the things they need to be able to do or not do in that case?
I think that it's two things. One, it's communicating the gospel, and the other, it is obeying the gospel. You are loved when you didn't deserve it.
Right.
You were shown patience and grace and mercy when you didn't deserve it.
Right.
You might not think that other person deserves those.
Right.
But that's why obeying the gospel, understanding the gospel,
grace.
is so important for sharing it.
Yeah.
And I've said this for a while now. I think that the problem that most believers have in churches is that they're focusing on the inward, not the outward.
Right.
That they look in and they say, here's all the things I need to fix in my life. I need to do better in this. I need to read my Bible more. I need to do all of this. And it's just me. And even if it's a well-intentioned me, I want to please God. Nothing gives purpose and drive to growing yourself than looking out and seeing other people who are lost and scared and alone.
Right.
And that will motivate somebody more than a lot of things.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about giving context to the gospel, here's my suggestion. You already have people in your life who need it.
Yeah.
That you don't have to learn Spanish for.
Right.
You already have people in your life. Most everybody has a non-Christian in their life. And if you don't, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Right? That's where you start. That's the person.
Yeah.
Right? And slowly introduce more non-believers into your world and get to know them as people and then share the good news.
Right. And I do think there is kind of a subtle distinction that's important between giving context or caring about a non-Christian and also becoming yoked to them. There is an aspect that there is a boundary of closeness that, because they are a non-believer, does not get breached. That there are things of a spiritual nature in conversation that do occur in-house, but anything that's not that gets put on the table. I mean, especially going back to like student pastor days, I had a couple of things. First of all, anytime I took them to stupid Universal, which I can now say I hated that trip every single time, because every 3 minutes I'm turning around and counting to 10, making sure all my kids are there. Like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then if I hit 9, I'm like, uh-oh, where's number 10? It's always the same one. Anyway, sorry, I just had a moment.
No, it's fine.
But if they asked and said, Dan, do you want to come on this roller coaster? The answer, it was always, yes, I do. And the truthful answer is always, no, I do not. I don't super like roller coasters, but because it would give an opportunity to bond and talk to them, I enjoyed that, and out of that sprang forth this, like, I guess I like roller coasters now. Kind of the same thing on kind of like taking up airsoft. I took up airsoft because I was trying to get closer to these people in order to gospel them closer. Now, granted, it ended up being a lot of fun. But was I kind of the first day really pumped about having to spend $200 on a fake gun to get shot over and over? No, I can now safely say,
Yeah.
didn't like it at first. Because I bruised like a peach and it was not fun, but it gave opportunities to have important conversations about the gospel. And it's, I mean, to stuff kind of closer like preferences. I need to be able to give up the preferences instead of cling to my own preferences, because there are greater things going on. And I think if I stop and think about the standard God applied to me first, then I'm more okay applying that to other people. If I stop and think like, okay, this is the amount of grace God gave me, and just like spend a day, tally that up, and then go to this other person and think, but they're really annoying in their political beliefs. I've sinned against the great high king of heaven, so I can forgive some political beliefs and like have a conversation there. I think it's kind of important to start to understand our grace in order to apply grace out better.
Yeah, I mean, it's the image of you telling somebody who's treading water, hey, I have an answer for you. Like, I've got something for you, and they're like, please help me. Yes, I'll take anything. And you're like, just come here and get it. Right? Like,
I'll pray for you.
No, you move toward them. As a believer, we have the strength, we have the spirit. We can do a lot of moving and bending and flexing, right? So Paul in this passage is saying, look, if they have an identity and it is and they don't know Christ, I will breach that to go and get them, right? And then I can explain to them what their true identity is, or I can explain to them the same message. But I've got to figure out who they are, and they have to feel like they have intrinsic value to me. They're not just being farmed through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I'm caring about others the way Christ cared about us when we were against him, Bible's very clear, we were against Christ. If I'm doing that, then I'm actually willing to lay down my life in both a figurative and a literal sense, in order to guide them closer to God. And I think too many times people, they draw a line way too soon of like, well, we can't forgive that in their past or can't do that. And it's like, no, you got to take time and understand that all people are struggling through something. And after they understand that I care about them kind of despite the things they've done, and I would call that a very Christ kind of centric amount of grace, then I'm able to guide them through the gospel, because there is a foundation of, hey, I made the first step to come to you because I care. Now I've been given permission to speak this in a person, instead of just like, hey, I saw you from afar, you're a terrible sinner, Jesus loves you. Did I do an evangelism today? Check mark on, I almost said a name of an organization. We're not going to do that. Check mark on any box that I need to get through. Like, I did an evangelism. I shared my faith. Jesus saved me, good. Check. So I think that's kind of a difference, is actually spending time to get to know them and understand them, instead of going in like, I have to fix them.
Yeah. And it doesn't take away, like, we can't actually help God save, right? Like, but it's what He's commanded us to do as ambassadors of Christ. Like, God's going to do it. We can't be like, well, I didn't love them well enough, and so looks like they're going to spend eternity in hell. Like, whoops. But God has still given us this command, and this command is, I mean, every time I give up something of my own in order to bring someone else closer to Christ, I get closer to Christ. Right. Like it's for their benefit, but also when I'm participating in the mission of Christ, there's nothing that brings the Christian more joy. So, I mean, it's literally the best thing you could do, and we're just scared or unwilling. I will say this. So I'm writing this book about the gaps that keep us from sharing our faith, right? And there's all these gaps, and then the last one is my example is Jonah. So I'm thinking through, and I'm just like I'm thinking through like, okay, well, why did Jonah run away?
Racism.
Right? Was he scared? Because in my mind I'm thinking like, well, in that VeggieTales they slapped him with fish, so like maybe he ran away because he was scared of going to that of going to the place of Nineveh. And no, it's pretty clear in the Bible. He tells God, I knew that you would save them. I knew they would all turn to you, and I hate them.
Yeah.
So I ran away.
Right.
And I don't know how to communicate that.
He had faith. Also, like,
it's just that type of attitude that's like, nope, you're too bad, you're too different.
Yeah.
You've been raised a different way.
Right.
You look different than me. You sound different than me. You don't deserve God's grace. Well, gross.
And especially the people Jonah had been called to. He was called to people that were against his hometown. Like, they hated the Israelites. They had attacked them on a few different occasions. So as the Israelites don't have their stuff together, I mean, they are essentially at this point abandoning God entirely. And God tells Jonah, like, hey, you should go tell your enemy about the gospel. He should go tell him about God.
Yeah.
And Jonah goes like, they'll take our land, and I know because we're not currently taking it. So like, it's just open, and so if I tell them, then they'll become ahead. And so God's like, it's gonna happen no matter what. Like, you just are fine, big fish, let's go.
Yeah.
And he chills in there, and then he comes. My favorite part is that he comes back and gives like the laziest presentation of any kind of gospel anything. He's like, you should turn to God or whatever, and all of them go like, you're totally right, we've totally abandoned God. All of them take a knee,
and then Jonah Bernie's
was like, yeah, like just the whole thing.
Gosh.
And the ending of Jonah to me is intentional in its. It doesn't like.
It's awesome.
It doesn't end. It stops.
It's awesome.
It ends on Jonah going, but all right. So then how do I deal with this essentially? Yeah. And then you're kind of waiting for Jonah chapter 5, and it's just not there. It's like, that's the question we all struggle through. Is like, well, how do I do this then?
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I've told people, it's like, most people want to be the prophet Isaiah. No one wants to be Jeremiah. Most of us are Jonah.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to be Isaiah. Like, sure, I'll go to the king's court. I'll just happen to, there's grapes, I just happen to have them. I'm there. No one wants to be Jeremiah, like thrown in the hole. Like, hey, can you dig me out? And the army comes up and says like, wow, who put you in here? Some kind of painful enemy? Like, the enemy of Israel's come up and he's in a hole. Like, man, who did this? That we're sick people. We wouldn't even do that. My people. It's no big deal or anything.
It's no big deal.
And they're like, really? Oh. Yeah. And they, like, the enemy had compassion on him, like, just go take some land, we'll leave you alone, you've had to go. And he still tries and goes to warn the people, and like, no, we're pretty sure that didn't happen. Please listen.
So much of that attitude, that Jonah attitude though, of no, I don't want them to change, I just want to be mad at them and for them to die alone, is what you see on social media, where you are entrenched in your camp, and it's just, you're just flinging rocks at the other side, going, hey, I have truth, I have this, and it's tough, man.
And
it's tough.
I think it's important to care about people in authenticity. I think both of us, without naming names, can give a couple of stories if pushed, when a person felt, because both come out of student ministry background, and every now and then there's that person that comes up and needs to pull a, well, hi there, fellow kids, I too am a skateboarder. And you're like, ooh, no, like, you have to be you, but be you that genuinely cares about them and doesn't try to like craft this personality that just is fake. Kids are the best bullcrap detectors I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's not manipulation.
No.
It's not. It's genuine care.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and not about trivial little things, like, hey, so and so likes country music, so in order to win them to the gospel, I too must like country music, because I draw the line there. But if
I got into country music for a girl, no big deal.
woof.
No. I'm sorry.
But
We're gonna
it's
cut that.
No, I think you leave it.
Yeah, we're leaving that.
Does she know who it is? Like, if she watches this,
nah,
would
she
she
doesn't
know?
watch this.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's her name?
that's fine.
If she doesn't watch it.
Huh? Yeah, but like other people do. So.
Okay. First name? First name?
No, we're not doing this.
Okay.
I'll tell you after, but
Neat.
I ain't doing this now.
I'll post it in the comments.
Oh, I won't tell you after. Anyway, where are we?
We just finished Don't Be Stupid.
Or inauthentic.
Yes.
And just be if a person's a nerd, be a nerd for Jesus. Like, don't try and fake a thing because kids can tell. Mm-hmm. Which brings us to a book I would like to talk about today. So there's a devotional that came out a couple of months ago, and I was trying to find a good time to bring it up. It's called The Word According to Gen Z, a 30-day challenge. Now, here's what happened. This group, that part of their mission is to make Christian shirts not suck. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of agree with them a little bit. Because, I mean, there's always those t-shirts of this shirt's illegal in 52 countries. And I'm like, no, it's not. Because you didn't actually say Jesus in there, but only talked about how illegal the shirt is.
Silly rabbit.
Which, ironically, just makes the shirt not illegal.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Silly rabbit. Jesus is for everyone.
Yeah.
I almost bought that when I was like 10.
Right.
I thought it was so funny.
Right. And now it's like, I thank goodness my mom said, like, no, because you will get beat up, you know? Like, you're right. I would have gotten beat up. Thanks, Mom.
But then you wouldn't have felt bad because then you and God Girl would have gotten beat up.
She didn't get beat up, though. She was just a genuinely nice human being.
Well, then
I'm actually
you
surprised.
You could have claimed persecution if they beat you up for your Jesus t-shirt.
I'm actually surprised I've never been beat up.
Okay.
I should have. Thank you, everyone I knew in high school, for not kicking the poop out of me. Anyway, so this book, they have it's a 30-day devotional aimed at teens. Takes them through kind of a passage or two, asks a couple questions, gives a devotional. Now, devotionals don't tend to be the most in-depth things, but they gave the Generation Z translation of the Bible that they created. And so then I think it was Matt Walsh at the Daily Wire got a hold of this as a concept and kind of talked about it as the dumbing down of the Bible, how it was anti-faith, blah blah blah. And so at a point, this, although it was going to be produced by Lifeway and distributed by them 3 weeks prior, they then kind of decided to pull it from their offering. So then this company, they've already printed them at that point, so they had a warehouse of these books that they're just like, well, we're still putting them out. I mean, I've still done it. So I ended up getting this in the mailbox at church because I bought student content. I was on a mailing list that I think they purchased from Lifeway. Say like, well, we're just gonna mail them out anyway. Are we good? Yeah, we're fine. Sorry, we axed your book.
Okay.
So I went through it, and I'm gonna be fair. I think they know what they're doing.
Okay.
I think they understand. It's very self-aware.
Like they lean into the cringe.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it got a bad kind of a rap because they give the Gen Z translation, and then on the next page they put the ESV. Now, people that put the ESV tend to handle the word pretty well.
Yeah.
So they are goofy people who are trying to make joy in Christianity by having some fun and make it memorable. Also, they did give actual scripture. So
I mean, it's not like they just gave the stuff and they're like, well,
yeah, like, no, this is how kids speak. They're like, all right, but seriously though, here's the real Bible. Please also learn this one. So in true guest fashion, Andrew, we have a quiz for you today.
Okay.
I'm going to read a verse to you, and you have to tell me where it is in the Bible, or just anything about it.
Okay.
At all.
Okay.
So like, the scale for success is pretty low for this reason, and
we'll see how it goes.
It'll become very apparent why.
I did not even know this book existed before we started this podcast.
It is. I was visibly excited when it showed up. I was like, oh, I've heard about this. I need this. Okay, number one.
All right, number one.
Now, these are in order of, I just picked the first 5 they do. So I'm not trying to find the most egregious. There are some in there, but anyway.
Okay, here we go.
And since day uno, there was Cap G. Big J was chilling with Cap G, and Big J was Cap G.
John 1:1.
Yes, in John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Cap G.
Cap G.
I hate that.
I do too. No, it sucks. Like it's number 2. So
it feels irreverent to just hear it.
Well,
okay, here we go.
Wait till you hear this one.
Go ahead.
Cap G's words are one hundo. Straight up, slicing, dicing, and knowing it all.
2 Timothy 3:16 and 17.
Ooh, I get how you might think that.
Read it again.
Cap G's words are one hundo. Straight up, slicing and dicing, and knowing it all.
Hebrews?
Is
it really?
Hebrews 4:12.
No.
For the word of God is
living and active, sharper than
any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of the soul and of spirit, of joints and of marrow, and discerning the thoughts and intentions of the heart.
Read the stupid one again.
Cap G's words are one hundo, straight up slicing and dicing and knowing it all. It's like, yes.
But you removed all the content.
Knowing it all.
Well, I mean, yeah. Okay, keep going. I hate this.
I got your holy scripts padlocked in my chest thumper.
I've hidden your word in my heart.
I have stored your word. Yep, Psalm 119:11. I have stored up your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. I have your holy scripts padlocked in my chest thumper.
My chest thumper? It's like they went on thesaurus.com. No, it's like they went on urbanthesaurus.com and just started typing in words.
Urban Thesaurus.
They've got Urban Dictionary. Why can't they have Urban Thesaurus?
That's got to be a thing,
it
right?
It has to be.
TM. Now, granted, this is why I'm trying to clarify. I just picked the first 5.
I hate it.
Yeah, it's not wonderful, but it's in. Sorry, well, I'll get back to that.
Okay.
Number 4. So far, you're 3 for 3. Good for you, man.
I missed number 2.
You got it though. I honestly didn't think you were gonna get that one. That one
really?
was kind of That was like
it's so vague,
right?
Slicing and dicing is the only thing that connects it,
right?
Because it's like Word of God passage. You're either 2 Timothy 3 or Hebrews chapter 4.
Now, if you get this, you have permission to pastor any church in America.
Oh gosh.
Not swerved by these scripts, cause Cap G be given that get out of jail free card to the whole fam.
Okay, one more time.
You think that'll help?
Yeah, one more time.
Not swerved by these scripts, cause Cap G be given that get out of jail free card to the whole fam.
One more time.
Last time. Not swerved by these scripts, because Cap G be given that get out of jail free card to the whole fam.
Not swerved by these scripts. It's an epistle. Is it an epistle?
Yes.
Is it?
I mean, I didn't really narrow a lot down for you on that one, you know.
It's an epistle. It is one of Paul's epistles.
Again.
Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, or Colossians.
Is that your final answer?
It's one of those. Yeah.
Incorrect. I'm sorry. Romans 1:16.
Shut up. It is
I am
not
ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek.
Read the dumb one again.
Not swerved by these scripts, because Cap G be given that get out of jail free card to the whole fam.
I disagree. That was hey, people who wrote this, that was poorly done. You could have done it better.
This is the line. This is the line. Okay, last one. Day 5.
It didn't even make sense.
I understood it because I'm in touch with teen news. Okay, number 5. Take that a noggin guard of Savies and that big old knife of Cap G's words.
Armor of God.
And take
helmet of
the
salvation.
helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. 4 out of 5, not bad.
No, 5 out of 5. No, 4 out of 4. That the Romans 1:16 one didn't. It's not a thing. You have to use at least some of the same idea.
They did.
No, they did not.
No, I mean, I see how they got there.
I don't.
I agree with you. Also, I see how they got there. No, but that whole thing, it's actually, I mean, as far as devotionals go, they know people don't speak like this. There's no way they don't know.
I don't know, man.
And I caught their promo that they made that Lifeway wouldn't put out. It's very tongue-in-cheek. They understand what they're doing, and I think it got a bad kind of a rap because of that. It was intentionally cringe. It was as if they're doing it for the meme. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
They were, and the kind of devotional stuff is actually, it's not bad. Now, granted,
Okay.
it's a devotional, so you know, I had a person say that devotionals are the bottom tier of Christian literature.
I mean,
which you're not wrong. You know, like, hey,
I wonder what someone else thinks about this. Hey, I wonder what someone else thinks about this passage.
but like briefly, and don't give me a lot of depth. And I'm also going to spend only 60 seconds reading it.
Yeah.
You know,
as the bare minimum of my responsibility for the day. And look, there's a verse listed at the bottom, but I would have to go look it up, so I'm actually not going to.
Right. Jesus calling. Sorry.
You know, there's also an LOL Cat Bible.
Thank you. For the next quiz, we will be doing the LOL Cat Bible, whenever that is.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, we're ordering that. I hate you for that.
But still easier to interpret than whatever this garbage is.
Yeah.
Go look up Romans 1:16, LOL Cat Bible.
I will definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
So this, though, I do think it's actually a fairly good devotional that's just tongue-in-cheek about the whole thing. It's intentionally cringe in order to, I think, bring joy to a devotional process that most kids just aren't going to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
It knows what it is.
They
don't talk like that. No one thinks kids like... I've never heard a kid like, hey, I'll just be praying to Cap G. You know, like, no one's... Nah, it doesn't happen.
It does.
No one has.
Yes,
one has said, "I've been praying to Cap G because I got Big J with me." Is that what Jesus is? Is he Big J?
That's because you live in here.
You can't tell me these guys didn't intentionally know what they were doing.
Well, of course. Look at them. They knew what they were doing.
This isn't like sponsored by them. I just really wanted to read parts of this book. So,
it'd be a poor sponsorship if it was.
I'll take their money. I'll shill their books. Let's go. No, I'm playing.
No, I understand. I understand what it is.
Yeah.
You have to move past. It's great for those who can move past the irreverence.
Right. They gave a real translation.
No, I understand that.
So I appreciate.
I'm
that.
here. I'm just saying it's great for those who can move past the perceived irreverence. The momentary irreverence.
But those who are holy and have trouble doing that will not find enjoyment from this. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not even for me. I just thought it was funny.
No, it's good.
So we want to hear from you guys, though. How do you feel about this book, about bringing the gospel in context and the core concepts of the gospel? If anybody has a question, the best place to go to ask us, because Caleb and I, and occasionally Andrew, are totally interested in answering any questions anybody's interested in asking. The best place to go, that was a long run-on sentence.
And you still haven't told them.
I know, is thegospeloutpost.com/nobodyspecial. Form at the bottom of the page. You know how forms work. Or check us out on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Nobody Special Podcast. That's also a really good place probably to get in touch, better than the website, which is ironic, but do stay up to date there. And also through our YouTube page, that the podcast comes out every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So comments on there, any thoughts that people have, and we will be sure and get to them or answer them. Andrew, if they're trying to find anything you do, where can they go to find you?
Yes, they can go to studentgo.org. It stands for Student Gospel Outreach. Just go to studentgo.org, and that's it. No social media to speak of at this time.
He's free, and I deeply envy him for that. So, well, I appreciate jumping in today, Andrew. Thank you so much, and I think that's going to do it all for us today. I'm Danny.
And I'm Andrew.
And we are
Nobody's Special.